actually want to ask you about that right now, Billy, because you have a high level viewpoint or vantage point of the United States and different markets, different types of real estate asset classes, different types of operators, capital raisers, etc. Let's call it 2 years ago when debt was cheap, Boise, Idaho, Charlotte, North Carolina, Texas, right? Colorado. There's so many places that was like, come here, it's booming. I still talk to people around the country and they're always saying that people are still investing and, our city's growing and Californians need to leave, and I still hear that. But are you seeing some of that slow down across the nation where maybe some pullback, obviously with debt, obviously with, some capital calls and some stuff that's going on that's rough out there in the market? Are you seeing some of that across the United States?
Yeah, absolutely. There's fortunately none of my clients, but my clients have heard of people or have invested with people who are, just handing over the keys. It doesn't seem like it's rampant, like it's a...
When you say handing over the keys, you're saying the operator's giving the property back to the bank.
Give the property back and the investors get nothing.
Right, so they lose all their capital.
That's right.
Got it, okay.
Yeah. So, again, I can't say it's rampant, at least not in the circles of people I'm talking to, but it is happening. And then just deal flow. People are just trying to be more careful with their numbers, trying to get their deals to pencil, and it's just harder with the more expensive debt.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting. Okay, so back to you. So you got your degree in taxation. We were understanding the difference between taxation degree and an accounting degree. Half of the room was attorneys, half were accounting guys, and then moving into the family. And then you got a job at a CPA firm, started learning, kind of to put your license to work or, put your career path to work. Because you can get a real estate license, but selling real estate's much different. And when you got your degree, it's like, hey, study this book, take this test. Okay, I know this, but that's not really how it works in the real world a lot. Obviously you have to work within the confines of the law, but doing the job, right, going and getting a customer, that's not written in the book. Yeah.
Yeah, moving to Charlotte was a pretty crucial turning point in my career because I'd worked with real estate investors in the past, but the firm I went to in Charlotte was completely like 85% real estate. And it was right at the 2014 tangible property regulations where the IRS went and defined what do you have to capitalize and depreciate and what can you expense. So here we are with 85% real estate clients being able to get to tell them, hey, there's this new legislation coming out where previously you had to capitalize this asset, $500 over 27 and a half years. Well, the IRS just gave us all this guidance where not only can we now expense that $500 asset, we can now go back in time and all these assets that we have been depreciating just immediately take a big deduction for.
And so you guys were the stars. You guys were the bells of the ball, as they say, for 2014.
You get a deduction. You get a deduction.
Love that.
Yeah, it was a really exciting time.
Can you just break that down, that law, really clearly for our listeners?
Sure.
2014, the law was called...
So basically the IRS gave guidance, and it was the tangible property regulations, meaning that previously all the regulations said if you have an asset, if you make an improvement to your real estate property, you have to depreciate that improvement over the class life. And the class life, for all intents, usually was 27 and a half or 39 years. Obviously personal property you can depreciate sooner, but what was going on, practically speaking, in the industry was, again, you would go buy a fridge, $500, $800, whatever it was, and most accounts would depreciate that fridge over 27 and a half years just because they didn't know any better. Maybe they weren't real estate, specific people, whatever. But when that guidance came out from the IRS, then it made it painstakingly clear. It did kind of two things. Not only did it make painstakingly clear for everybody what can be depreciated and for how long and what can you expense, but then one of the most powerful tools in our tool belt was the de minimis safe harbor came out. There were a bunch of safe harbors, meaning a bunch of rules that the IRS gave these bright line tests to say you can expense this amount, and it's under a safe harbor. So as long as you follow these rules, you won't get audited. You don't have to worry about being audited or worry about this expense being disallowed. So the de minimis safe harbor was powerful because initially it was $500, but then for the next year it was raised to $2,500. And so the IRS said, if you make the selection in your tax return and your books and records, follow this provision, you can just deduct anything under $2,500. If it's $24.99 per invoice item, you're good to go. So that was, again, a major shift away from appreciating an $800 fridge over 27.5 years to now expensing every single fridge under $2,500 immediately. So
Huge tax savings,
Huge tax
and it's
savings.
right away.
But I was just going to say, immediate ROI if you're a real estate investor.
Right. Okay. So that came out. You're in Charlotte. You're working for how many people? How many accountants in the firm?
There were about 35 to 40.
Okay, so that's a large firm,
Yeah.
I would say. You're working with mostly real estate investors and operators and asset managers, etc.
Yeah.
You're earning your stripes, so to speak.
Exactly.